Tonight, the president raising the stakes as he threatens to strip more security clearances. Some intelligence officials now saying their biggest concern, special counsel Robert Mueller could be next. Former CIA Deputy Director David Cohen.
I think what the president is doing in part is sending a menacing signal to the prosecutors and the investigators on the Mueller team that if they continue their investigation, that their security clearance, which they need in order to do their job, is being put in jeopardy.
If Mueller or his team were to lose their clearances, it would mean an effective end to the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling in the U.S. election. Tonight, Cohen and more than a dozen former senior intelligence officials released a joint statement blasting the president for the clearance crackdown, accusing him of trying to stifle free speech.
I would tell the president to back off from this effort to use the security clearance process as a political tool. It's inappropriate, it harms our national security, and it's unworthy of the presidency.
The White House not commenting on whether Mueller could lose his clearance. For his part, President Trump lashed out at the Russia probe, unleashing a familiar line of attack.
That whole situation is a rigged witch hunt. It's a totally rigged deal.
Calling on Mueller to write a report now.
Sadly, Mr. Mueller is conflicted, but let him write his report. We did nothing. There's no collusion.
And late tonight, another blistering rebuke. 60 former high-ranking CIA officials signing their own letter in protest of the president's removal of John Brennan's security clearance and his threats of more to come, saying the country could be weakened in the end.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.